Agreeing on what's amazing could be a little bit hard, and at the center of one of those debates is the new Spider-Man series. We discuss it with one of our staff reporters. We also hit on the sweet tones of jazz and the return of that music genre to El Paso. And that's not where the discussion of tunes ends, because our final segment includes talking about the Super Bowl and the destruction of the Chiefs dynasty and Kendrick Lamar. There is no podcast like us. That's right, you're tuned in to the Prospector Season 12, Episode 2. I'm your host, Sebastian Perez-Navarro. We preluded to it in the intro, and if you didn't notice, we've got two versions of Spider-Man on our desk. And that is because we're going to be talking about Superman. I'm just playing. We're talking about Spider-Man. New series released, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And right now, we can recreate a little meme as if who's who. You. All right, nonetheless, memes aside, alongside Cameron Mason, Kristian Hernandez, I'm Sebastian Perez-Navarro, and joining us is Peter Parker himself, right next to me. I was playing. You have the shirt for it, though.
I wish.
Joseph Ezekiel Montero. He is a staff reporter for The Prospector. He's minoring in film, meaning that if we were to get anyone's opinion on this, that's not any of the creators of Spider-Man, Joseph is probably the best person we can consult on this matter. Obviously, big Spider-Man fan. Shout out, Joseph. Thank you for bringing the props. We really appreciate it.
Sir.
We have a little bit of a decoration desk going on. Nonetheless, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, it's finally out. It was a series which was announced back in November of 2021. It seemed as though it took a lifetime to come out. Finally, it is February 2025. We're getting to see a new version of Spider-Man that's animated but not related to Miles Morales. You've talked to some students. Some have liked it, but others have been vocally critical about it.
Yeah, so a lot of fans who have been very critical of the new show, they love to reminisce of the old shows, especially Spectacular Spider-Man, probably one of, if not the best Spider-Man show out there, very popular in the early 2000s. And a lot of people are critical of it just because that show did actually get canceled abruptly. So a lot of people were, heartbroken about that. And now this show comes out, which no one was really expecting or more so asking for. But, it is a new take and a breath of fresh air for Spider-Man.
It's obviously animated, but from watching the first couple of episodes, I think we can all agree that the animation looks off at times.
For sure.
It's 3D cell shaded, but it seems as though Peter Parker looks like he's from a comic book. Then the next second, it looks as though he's in the rough draft stages of CGI animation. Aunt May's face goes from, all right, it's a finished version, to this just come out of a sketchbook. So what type of animation are we experiencing formally, its influence in? Is this even finished, considering this series was delayed before it released?
Yeah, so the delay actually, after looking a lot into the show, the delay did come from creative differences at Marvel. So the original idea was the show was going to be a prequel for MCU Spider-Man for Tom Holland, but then they eventually decided, to make it its separate timeline, just so they could have a little more breathing room and not be, bound by the constraints by the continuity of the MCU. And then as for the animation, they really wanted to give it a artistic look to it, a very new look to it. Of course, there's influence from the Spider-Verse movies, Miles Morales. Those have been widely popular in recent years. But yeah, they really just wanted to, pay homage to the original comics and to the original drawings by Steve Ditko.
And Spider-Man is a very popular fan hero, of course. So what are they doing different with this Spider-Man than maybe others? Because, it seems like a new Spider-Man show is coming out maybe every 3 to 2 years. So how are they doing it different in this aspect?
So definitely for this show, they are grabbing aspects from the MCU. They're grabbing aspects from the comics and just kind of combining them together to, combine ideas, create new ideas, and really just give a breath of fresh air, like I said before, just to Spider-Man. So you get to see him, of course. There's a lot of differences in the show, the high school he goes to, the friends he has, and of course some of those are because of rights to the character. But
True.
It also allows the creators of the show to take this new media and use it differently to make it a new thing.
And are these episodes sequential? Like they go on along with the storyline, previously on this time, or
Yeah.
is it just like a sitcom series?
So it is a sequential. So every episode you do get a previously on. I know most people are probably just waiting until all of it comes out just to binge watch it. It does come out sequentially in groups of 2. So every Wednesday it'll come out. So 2 episodes will come out each week.
Kristian, did you say sitcom series?
Yeah, well, like Futurama or The Simpsons.
A few.
I don't.
Are we placing Spider-Man and Futurama in the same category?
I would watch that.
I mean, what is it rated? Is it because they say some words that are like, whoa, this definitely isn't just for kids, but what is it rated? TV PG, TV 14?
I think it's PG-13.
PG 13 is for movies though.
Then it would be TV-40.
TV 40?
42. No, 14.
It's for the real Spider-Man fans, the ones who grabbed the comic when it initially released. I can't get over the fact that you said sitcom. We could use a Spider-Man sitcom though. That would be pretty cool. But not steering too off topic and going how this Spider-Man series is pretty off topic for the MCU. The first couple of episodes, and spoilers by the way, maybe some red text right here. Spoilers for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Don't get mad at me if you haven't watched it and you want to watch the whole series in one go. Spoilers. Skip ahead. The next segment is Jazz Around Town. And also click subscribe while you're at it. I mean, it'd be what it'd be. Nonetheless, the Spider-Man series is different. And that is because in the first episode, once again, spoiler alert, Peter Parker's mentor is Norman Osborn. We get a recreation of Peter Parker listening to his tunes, walking around his apartment, and when he turns and we think it's going to be Robert Downey Jr., or at least the animated version of him, it's Norman Osborn. So, Joseph, where is this Spider-Man series? Where does it fall in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah, so it is part of the MCU, kind of like how now X-Men 97 is also a part of the MCU.
It is?
Technically, yes, but the way they're doing it is it's part of the MCU, but it's not part of the official timeline. It's kind of like What If, where it's part of a whole separate timeline, which gets to the whole multiversal thing. It gets very confusing. But Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is set in a different timeline, and they did do this just, they could have a lot more creativity to use the characters. So they take parts from the MCU, so they took the mentorship from Iron Man and instead put Norman Osborn. And of course, we do know that he does become the Green Goblin eventually. So it does kind of set up that sort of, forgot the word, but it kind of sets up that people know what's going to happen, but the characters don't. So it really is for the fans who are just waiting for it to happen.
Cliffhanger?
A cliffhanger. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
you could
there
say
you go.
that.
Well, originally this series was going to be called Spider-Man Freshman Year. When it was announced, it was supposed to be the origin story behind Tom Holland's Spider-Man, how he became Spider-Man and then was taken under the wing of Tony Stark. I thought we would see more of Spider-Man in his DIY costume, or suit. I should say suit. That's the proper superhero terminology. Maybe those are the creative differences you were alluding to, Joseph. But are we going to see this all play out on the big screen? Is this just to have spin-offs? I mean, where are we going if you're an MCU devoted fan?
Yeah, so I think right now it's really just its own thing. It's very spin-off. It's not really connected to the MCU in any way. It's not even trying to be connected to the MCU. It is trying to be its standalone thing, which I think it's doing so far a pretty good job. But as to answer your question, yeah, it's definitely a separate thing from the MCU, but I do think I did wish we saw Peter in his homemade suit a lot more than we did.
And would this be a type of show that maybe you would watch? I know earlier we were talking about it. You're a big Marvel nerd.
Oh yeah,
and all that stuff. Me too. So I guess would this be a show that you would really want to tune into?
Yeah. So when I saw the announcement originally back in, I think it was 2021, I wasn't too thrilled by it. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, another Spider-Man show.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
After I saw the trailer, I thought, you know what? I'll give it a watch. I'm always interested in seeing what the MCU releases. I've been a fan of the MCU since the original Iron Man movie came out, so I've loved it my entire life basically. So yeah, I picked up the show. It was a really good watch. It's entertaining. The character moments that are in the show are very powerful. I think for new watchers or new viewers of Spider-Man or the show, it does take some getting used to the animation style. For some people, it might be a little jarring. It might be a little ugly to some. But I think once you get past that, the show it's a pretty good watch.
And I know you said it was a spin-off, but was there really any demand for a spin-off for a Spider-Man series, or was it just, its own thing for Marvel?
Yeah, so I think as a demand, I don't think it was really necessarily like there was a need for another Spider-Man show. I think it's a good addition because this is only the third animated show released by by Marvel Studios. Of course, you have X-Men '97, which was a great show. You have What If, which is, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think this show really, with it being greenlit for 2 extra seasons after season 1, I think it has a lot of time to really, come into its own and prove to people and, like, meet viewers' expectations.
Fun fact, Hudson Thames, the voice of Peter Parker in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, voiced Spider-Man in the show What If. If What If and Spider-Man are connected, who knows? I mean, who knows where they go with Secret Wars, right? Or what's it called? Secret Wars, Secret Invasion? No, Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Yeah, Secret Wars. Cam, I didn't know you had it in you to be an MCU fan. I'm shocked by this. This is a revelation for me.
I mean, I don't think I'm as big as Joe. I'm as big as fan as him. But
What are you labeling Joe as then?
Because Joe looks like he knows his stuff. I know he knows his stuff.
Why? Because he has glasses? Wow.
More intelligent.
I would think that.
Right? Come on now. It's not a shot. It's not a diss. It's not a diss.
I mean, I don't know. I brought the Funko Pop, so.
All right, that's fair. All right, nonetheless, thank you, Joseph, so much for your time.
Yes.
He's minoring in film. He's majoring in multimedia journalism. Your dream is to work either in the NFL or the MLB. Have you thought about the MCU or anything with superheroes?
I've thought about making movies, but it's just in that field. It's
Your
just
Friendly Neighborhood Joe.
Yeah, Your Friendly Neighborhood Joe. Yeah,
Yeah.
could
I'd
be a
give
good
it a
movie.
watch.
I would watch that movie.
Did you watch that?
Yeah.
I'd watch
A
that.
biopic about me? I would watch that.
No.
No.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
This is how you create debate at the table, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, I mean, so Joseph then, so you'd like to think about making movies?
Eventually, I think I had started with wanting to make movies, but then as I, learned more about sports, got more into media and news, I just really I fell in love with that field. So I feel really comfortable in it, and I would love to just either work at, so my favorite baseball team is the Atlanta Braves. I would love to work at
The Braves?
Yes.
Really?
You're the first Braves fan I've ever met.
Really?
Are you from the A?
I'm not. I'm not from Georgia.
That's surprising. Only Brave fans I know are from Atlanta.
Yeah. Why'd you choose that as your team?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
He was brave.
Yes.
Oh, my
Nah.
God.
So originally, my mom, when she would watch baseball back in the day, like when TV wasn't just streaming and stuff like that, with the actual cable and stuff like that, the only games they would see of baseball were Atlanta Braves. So that's why they picked up the Atlanta Braves, and then I picked up as soon as I think I was like a teenager.
Through heritage. Wow.
Yeah, through heritage.
That's awesome. So we would be remiss to not ask you who your favorite superhero is. And I'm guessing we already know the answer, but who's your favorite superhero?
So, yeah, if the Funko Pops gave it away, me being on the segment, I would definitely say Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. I think just ever since I think that might actually be why I'm in the field I'm in, is because even when I read the comics and stuff like that, he was a photographer, and that's what got me into photography. I was like, oh, it looks cool, let me try it. And I did, and I absolutely love photography, so now I'm more into videos and writing and stuff like that.
That's amazing. Spider-Man is a direct inspiration of all our work at the Prospector. Those two come across very well. Nice connection there, like the webs he slings. Was that good? That was
One of your better
sport.
ones.
One of the better ones?
One of the better
That was
ones.
good.
All right,
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
Sure.
Nonetheless, coming up next, we're talking about jazz all around El Paso. That genre is finally coming back into the very spot it deserves to hold. For now, Joseph, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys for having me.
You're tuned in to the Prospector Podcast. Don't go anywhere. A jazz talk coming up next. There is no better person to talk about jazz with than with the staff reporter's name who starts with J. That's right, Jess Garcia is back again. I'm not going to sing this time because you guys didn't help me last time. Thank you, Jess, so much for joining us. I heard your Wednesday night wasn't full of homework. It was full of hanging out at a, we'll keep it PG, lounge to watch some jazz.
Absolutely. And a little fun fact about me. I know you mentioned my dad last podcast, Mr. Garcia. He's a big jazz man. He plays a piano. We have a piano in the house.
You have a piano?
We have a piano in our house. I thought that was a normal thing for a long time.
Did he sing you lullabies about math? It's like 0 and its theories.
I feel like I would have been more engaged if he did.
He should bring the piano to his class. That would make a pretty good decoration. Mr. Garcia, is he listening to this podcast?
He is. He definitely will.
Did he watch the last one?
He did last night. He was
Oh,
very
wow.
excited.
That's awesome. Mr. Garcia, you should take the piano into your class if you like jazz. Nonetheless, the jazz scene in El Paso is growing a little bit. An organization called the Jazz Exchange is running events called Jazz Around Town. Just yesterday, they moved from their typical location to somewhere else. Now, I'm not a really big social guy when it comes to going out, mainly because I'm 18. Cam,
Same, yeah.
are
Yeah,
you
you're right.
are you lying?
Oh, no. I'm keeping it. No, I'm
No,
keeping it real. I'm keeping it real.
What
though.
about last time you told us about your girlfriend? You know, you gotta take her out.
Oh man.
I am though.
Where are you gonna go?
I can't. That's a surprise.
Wow, it's
but I
because-
know. But this time I actually I got something.
Nah,
'Cause you got me
Cam-
pressed for that actually. Because she watched and you got me pressed for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting you pressed again, dude. He's a night owl. Kristian, are you a night guy? Night owl type of guy?
It depends. Not usually. Well, for pleasure, it's more for business. You know
More
what I
for
mean?
business is
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, it's because I'm not really a live show kind of guy.
Live show.
Like, for example, I don't really go to see live rap shows, but I do photography for live rap shows, and that's
Live-
what I love doing. I don't
What
like
about-
being part of the crowd.
That's tough.
What about jazz? Have you gone to a lot of jazz events?
I have not. I would really like to though. I really like to going to open mics. Those are really really fun. I meet some really talented artists, and just seeing what's around El Paso is amazing.
So then the first question would be, Jess, how important is it that the Jazz Exchange, who's run by a couple that graduated here from UTEP, Candice Reyes and Aber Mireles, they graduated at the University of Texas at El Paso, and they're now spreading jazz throughout El Paso, a genre in which largely hasn't been big since Duke Ellington came by in the early 1900s. How important are there events around El Paso to spread the genre of jazz to those who like the music back in the old times and those who wish to learn about it?
So first of all, Abel and Candice are super cool people. They actually
You met them?
I did.
Oh.
I actually interviewed both of them for the story.
Really?
And they're super chill, great musicians. Candice is a great singer. Love talking to them. And they bring something really special to El Paso. Jazz has such a profound history here. And pretty much anywhere in America. It's a very cultural music. And here they really want to emphasize that and keep the jazz community growing, because not only is it just fun to watch, but music has its benefits. Music makes you feel good. And they said it's also important for people to go and experience, what it's like to experience live jazz, to learn the etiquette, to learn the music. And jazz tells a story. Jazz always tells a story through the music, through the lyrics, and it really plays a big part in our culture.
Of course that I know jazz tells a story. Fun fact, Sebastian from La La Land, yeah, that guy's inspired by me, I wrote the whole script and everything. I just didn't want to be on camera, That was the only thing. Nonetheless, I feel like I'm saying nonetheless a lot. But Jess, Reyes, I don't know if I can call her Candice. Are you guys on a first name basis?
I guess we are.
Dang.
Really?
Wow.
I don't know. I feel like I'm a little informal. I feel like I should stop doing that. I'm always like, hey, Candice.
Hey, what's up, Candice?
What's up?
All right. Nonetheless, Candice Reyes said a couple of weeks ago that back then Juarez was like the Las Vegas for jazz. Is one of their main missions trying to bring that back with the Jazz Exchanges, Jazz Around Town? Because this isn't only a one-night event. This has been happening and is going to continue to happen.
So actually, I'm going to give y'all a fun history lesson. So jazz, it was created in New Orleans in the late 19th century, and then it really boomed during the Prohibition. So the reason that the jazz culture in Juarez was so great is because when Prohibition was happening here, jazz musicians would come through El Paso, go play in Juarez, and Juarez was basically the city that never slept during that time. So we actually do have quite a rich jazz culture here in El Paso. And they told me that it's good to revive that. It's good to connect to those types of roots and that type of old culture and really bring that type of art back into El Paso.
So with them trying to bring it back, I guess, to a new generation, it's not like they're going away from what made jazz, but now in the current day, are they doing or trying to do anything different for the scene to make it grow any better?
So one thing that they do, which I believe is very phenomenal for their growth, is that they fund a lot of jazz music education for children. And I think my personal opinion is that it's really great to get the children involved and get to know about the culture. And that's a big thing they do. They host workshops, they host camps, they host classes for the youth and even young adults to really get them involved in the culture and get that jazz community growing.
So what I'm wondering is, well, I'm gonna use rap as an analogy again. You know, there's East Coast WAP. There's East Coast
WAP?
rap.
WAP.
That means
Rap.
something completely different.
There's
Oh man.
West Coast rap. There's Houston rap. There's Memphis rap. What about jazz? Is there something different to each region or anywhere?
So I'm actually not too sure. I do know, well, it originated in New Orleans. And of course, wherever it goes, it'll have different styles. I did ask, did you bring a lot of influence from New York here to El Paso? And they said yes. Like the cultures are very different. There's like key differences. And they do like having that influence from their experience in New York here. And it also sometimes like affects the style a little bit.
There's 9 total events in February. A lot of parents have to be wondering, can they take their kids to it? They had one event on February 2nd. That was a Sunday, which took place around 2 p.m. But mainly, these performances are balancing out between 5 to 8. Is it a family-style event from what you attended yesterday, or is it meant for a more mature audience?
So from what there were 2 locations out where they were yesterday. So one was the Lotus Social House, which was their kickoff night, actually. They haven't done it at the Lotus before.
Usually what happens at the Lotus?
The Lotus? What happens at the Lotus?
What happens at the Lotus?
Stays at the Lotus.
But actually, I feel like you could probably take a teenager there. It's a pretty friendly event. You know, everyone's getting to know each other. But I do say that, like, these Jazz Around Town nights are a little more for, like, a bit of an older audience. Like, you could probably take, like, a mature teenager. And the Garrison is a very, like, jazzy, like, sophisticated lounge, I would say. Sophisticated lounge, to keep it PG. And I would say that is definitely more towards their adult audience.
Doesn't sophisticated mean more of fancy per se?
It is a little fancy in there. I did like it. They have like an area for like they have like a reserved area for like any special guests going. And also fun fact, at the Garrison location they do jams, like jam sessions as well. So they have a band play before, and then when the Jazz Around Town group goes on, you could sign up to jam out with them.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I really like that.
Who's a musician here? Anyone with a musical background?
I actually do.
Really? Which instrument?
Piano.
Piano?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Have you serenaded your girlfriend with piano?
Oh my god.
Is that how you won her over?
No.
Not yet. I'm planning to, but
You're
yeah.
planning to.
Yeah, because I
You're
used to play.
exposing your own ideas here, man.
Well, yeah, but I used to play a lot, but then
Yeah.
due to sports, I kind of drew away from it.
Okay.
So I'm trying to learn how to get back at it again.
So you played piano back in like middle school or elementary?
Early high school.
Early high school?
Early high school.
So what was
yeah.
like the most elaborate piece you could play?
I wasn't
Twinkle,
no
Little Star?
Mozart.
The
Come on, give me some
ABCs?
more credit. I wasn't doing that.
All right.
But I had a question for Jess though. When it comes to that now, since you've been a part of that, I know you said that your dad was also a musician. Do you think this is maybe something you would like to get into or try maybe a little bit, or no?
I do. I love music. I love jazz. I love rap. I love anything with a lot of cultural significance. And believe it or not, I don't play an instrument. Like,
Really?
I can kind of like do a couple chords on the ukulele.
That's
There's
cool.
a piano in your house, though.
I used to play piano, and then I started dancing. So I actually did jazz dance for a long time. When I was a kid. I think I stopped when I was like 13, 14. I did dance for like 10 years. So that was my like contribution to like jazz, you would say.
Contribution to jazz?
Contribution to jazz.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. But I would like to maybe relearn the piano. My whole family is very into music, very jazzy people. So I would like to get back into it.
So, as you would call them, Candice and Abel, right? I'll call them Candice Reyes and Abel Hernandez. Do they have further plans to expand and possibly try to convince districts to open up a jazz class? Or they themselves teach those kids or even teens who are interested into coming into the genre, opening their doors and teaching them?
So right now, they say that they are expanding. The jazz scene is expanding, and I think they plan to just continue to teach classes and get kids involved, get future generations involved, while spreading the word to adults who can attend events such as Jazz Around Town.
Jess, jazz, what's the difference? We found none. Nonetheless, Jess, a dancer for jazz, that's a new thing we learned. Thank you for your contributions.
Of course.
Wait for Jess Garcia's name to be in the Jazz Hall of Fame. Thank you so much for your time, Jess. As always, you're watching the Prospector Podcast. Welcome back to the Prospector Podcast, Season 12, Episode 2. We have reached the finale, and we would be cheating our entire audience if we neglected the Super Bowl in the month of February. It was so important to talk about this topic that we came back into the studio on a different day to film this segment. That's why he's in different clothing, and I'm in different clothing, all right? We have hygiene, and we're sanitary. Or maybe our washers are just broken. Who knows?
Never know.
Ooh, keeping the curiosity straightforward. Nonetheless, we have two new guests joining us. Sofia Sierra, the sports editor for The Prospector, and Leah Austin here to guide us through the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. Guys, it was probably one of the most shocking Super Bowls of all time. Super Bowl 59. The Chiefs got dominated by the Eagles. The headline on The Prospector reads, Chiefs dynasty denied. Eagles swoop Mahomes of a three-peat. By the way, you could read that on the www.prospectordaily.com. A shameless plug. I need to hear all your guys' thoughts on the matchup.
So going into the matchup, I did have the Eagles winning. I'm not just saying that, I did have them winning because I genuinely do hate the Chiefs. I do. I just hate the Chiefs.
Is that why you had the Eagles winning, or was it because they were just the most complete team?
No, they're definitely just the more complete, talented team overall. Like, you just see Kansas City through the whole entire year. And, I'm a Panthers fan. You know this. They barely escaped us, and we were trash. And, so just through the whole year, I just thought they were a little overrated. So it was just time that finally someone just used their talents on the roster and just beat them based off a game plan, didn't shrivel up to the moment.
Yeah, that's a common theme. The Chiefs were lucking out of games, a blocked punt against the Broncos. The rest of their games were tightly contested again, being in a tight contest with the Panthers. And even through the playoffs, the way that they beat Buffalo, and most importantly, is people thinking that the games were rigged because of how Kansas City was winning.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, that's really all I kept seeing in the media as someone who doesn't really watch sports or follow them. I just seen a lot of things, especially on Twitter, a lot of memes about how, the Chiefs they must have some type of spell or whatever you want to call it to be consistently winning the way that they were. So when the Super Bowl came around and they did get pretty much blown out the way that they did, it was really shocking to see for me.
On Twitter, I had seen that after the game, someone had posted apparently an Eagles fan doing voodoo. So there's that.
I saw that too. Yeah, actually I did.
Now that's the whole conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
So
They were in New Orleans.
They were. That's true. That's very true.
Philadelphia had a lot to play for. You're avenging the Super Bowl loss you had 2 years ago, which came with a very controversial call, which to today we don't know, was it PI, was it not PI? If it's not ruled pass interference, and does Philadelphia win that game? And just right off the gate, they came in dominating Kansas City in a way that we haven't seen Patrick Mahomes be played against since really Super Bowl 55, when Tampa Bay did the exact same strategy as Philly, which was just blitzing the quarterback.
And then even to that point, I think the Eagles actually did an even better job, against the Chiefs, because they were blitzing sometimes, but they were just using their front four for pressure, and they were just getting to Mahomes so they could just drop back everybody in coverage. So it was better for the field, and, Mahomes, that's why he threw that pick six. That's why he had 2 picks. They just had a lot of people in coverage, and that's what he wasn't used to.
That's really cool. Wasn't there a rookie also on the Eagles who it was his birthday and he threw a pick six? I'm not sure exactly what his name is.
Cooper
but
DeJean.
I thought that was
and
really,
Saquon's.
really cool.
It was Saquon's birthday.
It was
Yeah,
Saquon's.
that's so crazy. And Sebastian, wasn't it?
My birthday was the Saturday before. So for the entire Washington playoff run, I was thinking it's destiny. My birthday is the day before the Super Bowl. Washington's going to win the Super Bowl. It was Philly, which to me, seeing a dynasty collapse, it's always good as a fan because there's a lack of parity. But having it be Philadelphia, come on. Philly, out of all things, I feel this despised because, well, obviously, there are rivals. Yeah. They beat us in the NFC Championship. My dad was rooting for Philadelphia. He's a lifelong Washington fan. I told him you can't root for a rival no matter what. I was rooting for the Patriots back in Super Bowl 52. They lost that matchup. Obviously, Philadelphia doesn't have as much Super Bowls as us, but seeing a rival win, come on. It always stings a little bit, but at least it's a dynasty that ended. The Chiefs were going for a three-peat. They didn't get it. Patrick Mahomes, possibly the worst half of football anyone has played in the NFL.
Dang.
No, I'm not lying.
He genuinely looked like he was about to cry the entire game. It was insane. Yeah.
33 yards, 2 interceptions, 1 pick six. What in the world was that stat line?
I believe I had seen it was negative 4.46 or 0.49 EPA. Yeah, I had swooped in after the halftime show and was able to watch it live that second half. And oh my goodness, my mom had kind of like updated me for the first half and be like, oh no, like was it 24-0 by half?
Yeah, I believe so, something around there.
He didn't score his first touchdown until it was 34-0. All of his stats were garbage time stats.
That's for sure.
And they just rushed him. So how do you have to feel as a franchise like the Bills, right? You've lost 4 consecutive playoff games to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the cheat code was just right there. That's Blitz Mahomes. Because now he's played in 2 Super Bowls where he has not known what to do when the pocket crumbles. He hasn't been given the chance to roll out, and it seems as though those magical Mahomey plays, as some NFL commentators like to say, they just didn't happen.
Right. I think a lot of people had a lot of confidence, when halftime came. They're like, this is what the Chiefs do. Like, they'll come back. They're only up by 24. And so a lot of people were really confident that they would come back and kind of, work that Chiefs magic and somehow end up winning the game. But I think the issue was that they came out in the second half playing the exact same way that they played in the first half. And so that by that point, there was just no way that it was going to come together.
Speaking of halftime, Kendrick Lamar made the rounds after his halftime performance. Now, I'll be honest, I don't have the highest IQ when it comes to music. I recognized all the stars from Black Panther. I recognized Not Like Us and Euphoria because it was the only thing that my high school would talk about when it came out. So help me put it into perspective, guys. How big is it that Kendrick Lamar's performance, what it echoed and what it said on a stage like the Super Bowl, and how Drake's possibly feeling right now?
Yeah, wow, that was honestly insane. I, for one, as someone who followed the Kendrick and Drake beef from literally the beginning, since We Don't Trust You by Future and Metro Boomin, which was kind of like the, I guess, catalyst for all of this, to see this kind of play out and to make it to the Super Bowl stage where people are still talking about this beef, and he literally calls out Drake by name and looks directly into the camera. It was so insane. I know it was super controversial. A lot of people, complained that it wasn't as entertaining or, I guess as big of a production as some of the other Super Bowl shows that we've witnessed. But to me, I think, I kind of expected that from Kendrick. I mean, as someone who listens to his music and knows him as an artist, I wasn't expecting a performer because I don't think that's what Kendrick is. He's not Bruno Mars, he's not Beyonce. Like, he's not gonna come out there pop locking. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not what he does. And so, I do think, in my opinion, he did fall a little bit short because I feel like he does have hits that maybe the crowd would have been more entertained by, would have been able to connect to a little bit more. And I think he did go out and perform mainly all new songs. Most of the songs that he performed, besides maybe like All the Stars, were off of either his new album or were part of the whole Drake, feud. But I genuinely do think that I liked it. I liked the message that he was trying to send. I liked the visuals. Of course, I liked the end. I liked the ending it off with Not Like Us. That was iconic to me. And so, yeah, I those are my thoughts.
No, I was waiting for some Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah, I think that would have really kind of brought it all together. Maybe would have, again, connected with the crowd a little bit more. I know there was some like stuff going around on social media, basically showing, like the behind the scenes, I guess, of the crowd, and nobody was really moving or like singing along. So I think that maybe would have like eradicated any of those issues that he would have had. But I don't think I don't think that's what he set out to do. He makes a lot of points during his performance, even with him having Samuel L. Jackson kind of playing as Uncle Sam. He kind of makes it clear that he didn't really go up there to entertain. He kind of went up there to send a message or do, this whole revolution thing that he had in mind. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say that despite what the public may feel, I think Kendrick accomplished his goal. He did what he set out to do. And so, yeah. I mean,
one thing that was definitely missing was the people on the field.
Yeah.
Fans haven't rushed the field since Super Bowl 54. Obviously, when The Weeknd performed, we were under a pandemic. Personally, I think that's the greatest halftime show I've gotten to watch live from The Weeknd. Yeah, and Leah, we were talking about this when we got out of public speaking class. That being ever since the pandemic, the NFL has shifted towards a different genre of music
Yes.
for the halftime
Yeah.
show. We saw Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg in Super Bowl 56. We saw Rihanna in 57, Usher 58, and now Kendrick. A lot of people have bashed those halftime shows because it's a shift into the genre of rap.
There has been a huge shift in the NFL, and I guess trying to move towards, a more inclusive and a more just overall, I guess, politically correct, way of approaching things. And so, during that whole time, Jay-Z actually became a part of the deciding process of who gets to perform at the Super Bowl. And as I was kind of researching, Jay-Z actually has the last say of who performs at the Super Bowl. So that being said, of course, he chose Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg when they performed. He chose Rihanna, he chose Usher, and then this month he chose Kendrick Lamar. And so it's also not lost on me that, for one, Rihanna was a Roc Nation artist for a long time. She kind of came up under Jay-Z and Beyonce. Same thing with Kendrick Lamar. They've had a connection for a long time. Kendrick Lamar also has a pretty strong connection with Beyonce. He was just featured on her song "America Has a Problem," and so he has come out on stage with her, things like that. And so I do think that obviously plays a factor in how these people are being chosen. And it's Jay-Z. Obviously he's gonna choose artists that he likes as well, but I also think too, when it first came out that Kendrick Lamar was even performing at the Super Bowl anyway, a lot of people had a lot of things to say. A lot of people thought that it should have been Lil Wayne because it was in New Orleans and they felt like Lil Wayne had a better catalog and, et cetera, et cetera. But I definitely think there's probably a lot of things, behind the scenes that go into these decisions that obviously we as the general public probably don't know about and stuff like that. And so I think Jay-Z obviously is very intentional with these artists that he's choosing. I don't think he would just choose Kendrick Lamar for no reason. I don't think he would just do it out of the blue. And I also think that Jay-Z, most likely, I'm sure he watches these performances beforehand, approves them, says what needs to be changed and so on and so forth. And so again, with I think a lot of Kendrick Lamar's messaging, which was a lot of very kind of Americana criticism, and he says a lot of things during that performance. And so I think I can't imagine that Jay-Z would choose him without kind of knowing what he was gonna do and kind of being okay with that. And so yeah.
What artist are you hoping that he chooses next?
Honestly, I don't know. I have such a I think I have such a broad I guess music taste that I'm happy with anyone. I feel like as long as you get up there as an artist and do your thing and you stay true to yourself, which I think is what Kendrick Lamar did. I would be excited to see you. I honestly would be excited to see another Beyonce Super Bowl halftime. I know we've already seen that, but I would like to see it again. So yeah.
Bold words. Well, love it or hate Kendrick Lamar's performance, his songs greatly summarize the Super Bowl because the Eagles at the end of the day told the Chiefs, "You're not like us." The last time we saw something fresh in the NFL was when the dearly beloved Chiefs won the Super Bowl in Miami. And since then, they've become the most hated franchise in all of the National Football League. I think Philly has the pillars to become the next great dynasty in the NFL, which scares me. But what do you guys think? Is this the last time we see Mahomes in the Super Bowl for a long time, similar to Brady not going back to the big stage, or not at least winning the Super Bowl from Super Bowl 39 to 49? Do we see a similar pattern with Mahomes? Do the Eagles sky up? What happens in the future of the NFL after this game?
You know what? I think personally that they're still the team out of the AFC to beat because none of the AFC teams have proven they can still beat the Chiefs. No
Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow, true, but since he has to get their whole,
Defense.
their
Yeah.
defense and square and stuff, so, he's proven that, but, out of a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen, they still haven't been able to prove that they can beat Mahomes yet, so I think the Chiefs are still the top competitor coming out of the AFC, but you're still right, the Eagles are definitely going to be, if they can re-sign their players and keep everybody around, I think, they're still going, they could be a good dynasty going for them, for sure.
I agree. Let's just hope Daniels doesn't go through his sophomore slump.
Jaden Daniels is not going to go through a sophomore slump. Jaden Daniels is going to be the greatest sophomore. Look, zoom in on the camera on me. Zoom in again. Jaden Daniels is going to win NFL MVP and get Washington to the Super Bowl.
In his sophomore season?
His sophomore season. And you know why I can confirm that?
What's up?
The Super Bowl next year is on my birthday. It is on my
So
birthday.
it's just destiny.
And it's destiny. If Washington makes it, I will find a way to go to that game. UTEP Financial Aid, if you could help me out, that would be amazing. It's destiny. It is destiny for that to happen.
We'll come back to this.
Yes,
in a
we
year.
will. We will.
we
We're
will
gonna literally clip this and we're gonna play it before the podcast. Yeah, and we'll see.
So you're saying I'm going to get renewed as multimedia editor next?
We'll see.
Who's to say? Who's to say?
Who knows what the future holds?
Washington going to the Super Bowl, that's what it holds. Your future, however, holds subscribing to the Prospector YouTube channel. I know, another shameless plug, but we are serious. We are thanking you for joining us on the Prospector Podcast, Season 12, Episode 2. To catch more Prospector content, just click subscribe. Go to our socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Spotify. We're on X. We're on our website. That is where you can consume everything UTEP student media content provides. Again, a huge thank you from our co-host Cam Mason, Sofia Sierra, Leah Austin. Thank you for joining us. Kristian Hernandez, thank you for being a part of this episode. I'm your host, Sebastian Perez-Navarro, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Remember to hit that subscribe button, but for right now, we are over and out.